Syria earthquake 3 days ahead of time. He said he had no idea that the earthquake will happen just so fast. In fact, on the 8th of February, predicted seismic activity in Asia as well. He even went on to anticipate a large earthquake originating in Afghanistan. Depending on his pattern, he went on to say that the method that we use, in fact, is controversial. He says that they've done extensive research into past earthquakes and now they look specifically at the position of the planets. They attempt to find a pattern and then they use that to anticipate larger earthquakes in the future. And according to them, it works very well. He in fact also warned of tremors through Pakistan and India. Though this is controversial because experts today are divided, the United States Geological Survey in fact has gone on to say that no scientist has ever predicted a major earthquake. So the jury is still divided. With that, it's a wrap from my side, but news continues here on CNN News 18.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. After a stern warning to the UK, British envoy's security in the national capital has been downgraded along with the security presence outside the British High Commission. This is one of many steps India can take to drive home the message that India will no longer tolerate lackadaisical attitude towards its missions and its sovereignty. Remember, this unprecedented step is coming in response to the vandalization at the Indian High Commission, where Khalistani protesters brought down the Indian flag. India has been quite miffed because no local security was present despite the fact that the Indians warned of such protests in advance. Now, all eyes are at the India House again in London as another Khalistani protest has been planned by banned Khalistani outfit Seeks for Justice. This is the same organization that from time to time organizes violent protests around the globe against India. The British government and especially London police will be on test today. We'll get you live updates. But the big question is, will they allow people to come right next to the embassy or force a perimeter? Will they crack down on such elements that indulge in not just protests but this kind of vandalism and violence against other Indian origin people in London? And will British and other governments finally wake up to the K threat and act according to India's interests? Have we sent the right message to the Britishers that this is no longer going to work as status quo? What more can we do? We'll take those questions to our guest joining us in just a bit. But first, let's take a look at these pictures. These are visuals from the UK High Commission, from outside the residence of UK envoy to India, the Indian government removing the special security status from outside these two facilities. So outside the UK Commission, about 15 to 20 jersey barriers have been removed. And from outside the UK envoy's residence, several barricades and a PCR van that used to be stationed there has been removed. So these are visuals from after, and you can see some of these road skid marks where these barriers used to be. Sources though in the Indian government do say that they will continue to assess the situation, and if there's a need for greater additional security, then of course that will be provided. But this is a message that has been sent. You want privilege in India, you certainly have to take note of our concerns. Meanwhile, India's High Commissioner to the UK, Vikram Doraiswamy, on Tuesday last evening rubbished the kind of propaganda that is being spread against India using the Amritpal case as a peg in Punjab. Listen.
Let me assure all our friends here in the UK, especially brothers and sisters with relatives in Punjab, that there is no truth to sensationalist lies being circulated on social media. The situation in your ancestral homeland is not what it is being reported. The elected Chief Minister of the state and the local police authorities have put out detailed information, including interviews on television. Please watch these. Do not believe the small handful of people putting out fiction and disinformation.
Another protest is planned today at the Indian Embassy. This is, as I said, in an attempt to test India's resolve. Possibly or also a show of the frustration of the K gang, because remember, they can only really do this thuggery in the UK. They can't really achieve much in India. 2 days after their ugly show protest last weekend, the Indian diaspora, remember, in the UK also gave a befitting reply with a massive solidarity gathering outside the embassy with their tricolour in their hands and chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai. So there's a protest, we are told, planned today. We'll get you live updates in just a bit. But this is by a separatist group called Sikhs for Justice. So this is a banned pro-Khalistani group that works mainly out of Canada. Founded by Gurpat Want Singh Pannu in 2007. Works for so-called the secessionist ideology of Punjab from India. Pannu is backed by the ISI in Pakistan. Works to entice the Sikh diaspora especially. This is the group responsible for holding various referendums that you keep hearing about worldwide for a sovereign Sikh state. And there are cases of sedition, terror against Pannu in India. There has always been this Khalistani Islamist nexus in Britain that routinely attacks the Indian embassy. Take a look at some of these cases from the past. In 2015, October 2015 to be precise, hundreds of demonstrators of a group called Sikh Lives Matter gathered for a sit-in protest against the alleged police brutality against Sikhs in Punjab. But the initially peaceful demonstration turned violent, forcing police to cordon off the area around the Indian mission in central London. 22 people were arrested then, after a policeman was also left injured. There were violent protests, for example, outside the Indian High Commission in London on August 15, 2019, when protesters carrying Khalistani and Kashmiri flags tried to push forward across police lines and threw objects in the air above mounted police horses. They targeted members of the Indian diaspora who were actually peacefully celebrating Independence Day in 2019. And then again in September 2019, thousands of British Pakistanis attacked the Indian embassy in a planned fashion over the abrogation of Article 370. They vandalized the Indian embassy, breaking windows, etc. So you can see a pattern that is emerging. Let me also break down the links between the likes of Amritpal, who's facing a crackdown in India. He's on the run in India for over 5 days. And some of these international groups mounting protests against the crackdown or possible arrest of Amritpal. So there's, of course, Amritpal, who's the so-called chief of Waris Punjab Day. He is allegedly groomed by the ISI. That happened in Dubai. And his handler is allegedly this man, Avtar Singh Khanda. He is the one who's believed to be the person who's organized the March 19 attack on the Indian embassy. He's accused of holding bomb-making classes in the UK. Can you believe it? Avtar is linked to Babbar Khalsa International group, which is also banned in India. That group is led by Paranjit Singh Pamma. On the other side, if you look, the Amritpal is also linked to Road Brothers. So Jaswant Singh is reportedly one who's helping him run the drugs business in Punjab as well. You do need money, of course, and of course this is an ISI agenda. While Lakhbir Singh, who's head of the International Sikh Youth Federation, Jaswant's brother, he's also wanted Khalistani terrorist in India. So you can see that all of these links actually go globally. And there is not a surprise that this Amritpal case in India is being used as some sort of a fire building exercise. The big debate that's coming up, with India showing a little bit of spine as far as the recent mission attack in London is concerned, downgrading the security of the UK envoy and officials. Is this the right message to send to the UK? And will governments like the UK now wake up to this key threat?
The UK High Commissioner's residence in the national capital, and you can see how the security has in fact been removed from here.
Standing outside the British High Commission, and you can see that normal internal security is there, but no sort of barricading or police presence for that matter.
19 तारीख को जो लंदन में इंडियन एम्बेसी के ऊपर से जो तिरंगा हटाया गया, इन लोगों ने पूरी दुनिया में सिख कौम को बदनाम करने का काम किया है।
Going across to the guests who are joining us, Ramneek Maan is a political analyst who tracks, of course, developments in Punjab very closely. Prabhu Dayal, former diplomat. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow, Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies. I'm also joined by Gaurav Mana, who's the founder of Reach UK, a diaspora platform that, of course, works to build greater relationships between the two countries. But I want to start with Abhijit first up, because Abhijit, you were on the show yesterday. we were talking about what India can do to put a little bit of pressure on foreign governments, especially in the wake of the attack that happened in London. Today we get news that a little bit of security detailing has been cut as far as the UK envoy in the national capital is concerned and the UK embassy. This is almost exactly what you were referring to. What do you make of this move?
That's right, Shivani. If you remember, I told you we need to remove the security barricades and the no parking zones around the embassy out there. This isn't my recommendation technically, because remember, this is what we did when that entire Devyani Khobragade episode happened in New York. And we responded to it by removing all these illegal barricades and barriers that the Americans had put up on, the two roads that cut through the two public roads that cut through their three compounds that they have one behind the other in Delhi. Now, this kind of shows you how important it is that we don't just talk, but we back it up immediately with action. We have taken action against the UK, but where is the action against the Americans? Remember, the San Francisco consulate was also attacked.
Yes.
And all those barricades and everything that were removed when Devyani Khobragade was arrested illegally have all been, accorded back to the Americans right now. Right. There is a whole list of things I can go on. CD cars, the blue plate diplomatic cars, they don't have to pay road tax, toll tax, anything like that. They go straight to the VIP area of the airport and, they get all that special treatment and all of that. Our diplomats don't get that treatment in most countries around the world. Indian diplomats have to pay road tax, toll tax everywhere. Indian diplomats have to pay full price for their compounds and things like that, and rent and things like that everywhere. Why do we make these exceptions for foreign diplomats in this country?
That's a colonial hangover, isn't it? It's a colonial hangover. It will go eventually.
It's not a colonial hangover, because we give it to all diplomats. And there's this inferiority complex driven need for foreign validation, that somehow, if you have a blue car plate, you are somehow a VIP who deserves extra special treatment. It's this whole feeding into VIP culture and our inferiority complex.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what I meant when I said it's a colonial hangover. We have that. We were bred with some inferiority complexes, but possibly the country at large and its citizens globally are shedding that inferiority complex. Because I have Prabhu Dayal with me, let me get his opinion before I focus on what's going on in London today. And some of these visuals I think are from today. Today there's a greater security presence, what we can already establish. We'll go live across to London to my colleague as well. But there are barricades in place, there is greater police presence, and there's interestingly a barbed wire that has been put on that balcony where the Indian flag is hoisted on a pole, so that nobody can dare climb that today. So there are, of course, mounted police officers as well. But before we focus on what's going on and what's planned today, Prabhu Dayal, your comment of how India has responded, because some were also saying that, let's not go overboard also, let's not blow this out of proportion. Do you think this is a commensurate action of the bare minimum that India needed to do? And will this stay? Or is this just for the interim, just to send a message? The security will come back.
Shivani, these decisions are taken after very careful consideration. And as you enumerated the numerous incidents of attack on our High Commission in London, it shows that the British authorities have been very complacent and easygoing in this regard. So there was a need to wake them up, because it is their solemn duty to provide security to the High Commission of India and to our consulates in the United Kingdom. These duties arise from the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations and also the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. Now, Abhijit very correctly said that sometimes it seems that we provide facilities to other embassies, but in turn, the countries to which those embassies pertain do not provide any such facilities. I think that he has a very good point. There should be a reciprocity which needs to be observed. In diplomatic relations, reciprocity is very important. You should treat a country exactly as that country treats you. And if due security measures are not found to be taken as far as our High Commission in London is concerned, then we have every right to send across a message that we can review the security arrangements around the diplomatic premises and other diplomatic establishments of the British government. So I think it was need to send the government and I need to send the message. And I do hope that the British government becomes more serious. And I think you have mentioned that there are some security measures which now appear to be taken. I hope that these will last long. And in other words, these are not going to be withdrawn after some time.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be a long-lasting message.
Adequate numbers is necessary.
Yeah, I'll request the patience of our other two guests who've not spoken. I just want to quickly go across to Ritangshu, who's joining us from outside the India House in London. Ritangshu has been keeping a close watch on the developments ahead of this so-called planned protest. Ritangshu, I hope you're doing well. Give us a sense of just what is the kind of presence there and what are you hearing on this planned protest? Are people expected? What are the police officers telling you?
Well, first of all, good evening, Shivani, and hello to all of viewers in India. Yes, I'm standing right now on the other side of the India House. I'm the other side of the street. Shivani, what has happened is that, let me just turn my camera around. You can see the protest has begun. So what has happened is that the Indian High Commission has been barricaded on both sides of the street of Aldwych. The local police, you can see there is a sizable police presence. They've asked every pedestrian on that embankment to move across and walk from this side. So that part has been effectively been sterilized. There's an area which has been demarcated here for the protest, and you can see the protesters have already emerged here. There are pro-Khalistani slogans, which we are not going to show to our viewers, of course. There are slogans in favor of Khalistan. There are slogans supporting Amritpal as well. And there is a crowd so far. No sloganing as such. They've just mobilized here. There are some people wearing with the faces covered, as you can see here on your screens. And there are those flags which are here. In terms of the Indian High Commission itself, 2 points to mention to our viewers, Shivani. One is, of course, the giant tricolour, which was put up as a sign of defiance after the horrific events of last Sunday. But the flag, you can see below that also, the flagpole, which was replaced, the tricolour, which was replaced by Khalistani flag, that has been secured. I don't know whether viewers can see it against the glare of the sun, but that has been secured with barbed wires as well to ensure that that flagpole is not removed. So the layers of security as such, one is that that side of the road has been sealed off so that no one can come anywhere close to Bharat Bhavan or the India House. The flag itself has been secured. There's a sizable police presence here, both on this side of the India House and also on the other side as well, where you have seen mounted police and a lot more police forces in reserve. So in case the current deployment here gets overwhelmed by the Sikh protesters, there are at least 3 to 4 times the deployment of police you see on your screens here. There are at least 3 to 4 times deployment on the other side of the India House, ready to come in and ensure that there is no law and order which is violated at this point here. Shivani.
Okay, Ritangshu, stay with us. And if you see any movement or greater action, then you can always come in. I'll keep you in, on the windows. But I want to go across quickly to Ramneek Man as well. Ramneek Man, if you look at the visuals that Ritangshu is bringing us, there's hardly any presence. ये तो बहुत बड़ा कोई protest mount करने वाले थे ये लोग. इनकी तो टाई फिस हो गई है मुझे लगता है.
Shivani, good evening to all the fellow panelists. These people are cowards. They operate in mobs. And when they're not able to gather numbers, they would hide. And as far as the Khalistan propaganda is concerned, it is only for the white man, because nobody here wants Khalistan. And that's why the Khalistani flag bears Khalistan in English. That is in Roman, not in Gurmukhi. It's not written in Punjabi, it's not written because the white man, the Gora Admi, does not understand Punjabi, he cannot read Gurmukhi. So they will write it in Angrezi so that the white man understands there is something going on. They're not sure what. And they want to, this is only a Dukandari, it's only a shop, it's a showroom. They want to collect money from the people, they want to incite sentiments, and that's the end of it. And, you've just seen spikes installed at various areas to avoid pigeons or other birds to come and sit on. Well, I mean, the barbed wire works the same for these Khalistanis, I believe so. And yes, so Prabhu Dehaji was saying that diplomacy is essentially based on reciprocation. So true, I mean, what the government of India has done is absolutely perfect. And the scenes you've been witnessing in the West, let's say in the streets of Paris, in Germany, in England, in US, these scenes are akin actually to third world countries, to Africa, to, Afghanistan. Remember Benghazi? So you don't want a repeat of an attack on a US embassy. You don't want a repeat of an attack on a, let's say, Indian consulate in Afghanistan. So they have to do more now. They have to, these authorities there. See, the West has always tried to keep India on the pot boiler. They wanted India not to progress.
I was coming
And that is
exactly
why
to
they have
that.
always
I was coming
harbored-
exactly to that. Ramneek Man, do you believe
separatist elements.
Do you believe
They've
India
harbored
is
separatist
going to
elements,
manage
whether-
to send that message to the West that, stop poking us with this?
I mean, this is not even poking, as a matter of fact. India is a giant. It is just awakening. Halita Angrai nahi liti properly. India is not woken to its, real self. After waking up, we not even spend our coffee. It's not even the first, I don't know what the word for English. Angrai bhi nahi liya abhi to theek se. So they're so rattled. Once India wakes up, God bless the West.
Well, the white man, you were talking about the white man and how all of these protests are for the benefit of the white man. The white man has enough problems today. I don't think they care about the Khalistani propaganda.
No, but
so I don't know, they're barking up the
policy,
wrong tree.
No, but as a matter of policy, Shivani, they have been fueling, inciting separatist movements across the world, not just in India, everywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you find separatist elements of the entire world? You find them in the West. They aid them, they abet them, they fund them. They want to keep this part of the world backwards so that they can sell their weapons, they can sell their technology. They don't want us to be a developed country. They want to portray themselves as, the leaders of the world.
Okay. Ramneek Man, just hold your thought. I want to quickly...
उनका वर्चस्व खतरे में है, पश्चिम का वर्चस्व खतरे में है.
Well, you face such propagandas, but I want to quickly go across to Gaurav Manna also, who's been waiting very patiently. Gaurav, I don't want to say that just because Rishi Sunak is the new Prime Minister, it's going to change the entire diplomacy of the UK towards India. But the situation between the two countries is changing. Of course, India is now the 5th largest economy, displacing the UK. I want to understand though, can we hope for greater cooperation and understanding from Rishi Sunak as far as these issues are concerned? Could we see a switch in the way the UK handles these concerns of India? What do you think?
No, absolutely. I think I also echo with whatever Ramneek Bhai has said, because he's my big brother, elder brother, so he knows I fully concur with his views. Sitting here, obviously, it is one thing I must say before I go and answer your question, Shivani, is that I have to say that our High Commissioner Vikram Doraiswamy, and the video is taken out, and obviously the outreach he's done to the British Indian diaspora has helped the British diaspora a lot in terms of coming out and be vocal and supportive of the view. And we all know, as a matter of fact, that what is happening in Punjab has got nothing to do with the United Kingdom, let's be honest. The other thing, which is, to answer your question, the problem here is this, Shivani, and to Ramneek Bhai's point, there is a cabal of MPs actually here, from Tanman Desi who's a Slough MP, to Preet Kaur, to people like Jas Atwal, who's in Redbridge in London. There are a lot of these MPs who are actually fueling this separatist movements, which is obviously, as we rightly mentioned earlier, that it is funded by the foreign agencies, or it is only for the foreign benefit. There is, to answer your point around the fact that the Rishi, will that change? Yes, it is changing on the ground. You can already see that today, as your correspondent was also saying, there's sizable 3-layer presence of police. Everybody's barricaded. I have the information that 11 Gurudwaras, and these are all SGPC Gurudwaras, who have circulated a memorandum to say, book your places, there'll be coaches to take you to this place, to the High Commission. So all of that has been done very systematically by SGPC. I think the question also needs to be asked about SGPC operating from India. Is that also instigating all of this? My other worry is that obviously the Sikh diaspora, I mean, obviously I'm half Sikh, my wife is Sikh. So I'm asking this question to a Sikh diaspora across the world as well. What they want, they also need to come out and denounce this, isn't it? You can't have Guru Ghars covered with the pictures of all these separatists rather than the gurus, our 10 gurus. We have lost the plot in that sense as well. So it is all multi-layered, but I think Rishi will be able to sort it out as long as he's been able to control these separatist elements, and they are all across the parties.
Well, I
parties.
know that Rishi
So he's
Sunak
doing his
stands
bit.
for not being politically correct. He has spoken against, for example, some of the crimes that were going unreported or unacted in Britain, especially by these Pakistani gangs, and of course the silence around them, and obviously, so he seems to be someone who's not interested in continuing that status quo. But in large governments,
just one thing to add.
Yes.
The one thing to add, Shivani, is that actually you're right, because since Suella Braverman has taken over as the Home Secretary, she has already gotten a strategy to tackle the fundamental Islamist in UK. I think a similar strategy has to be adopted for fundamentalist Khalistanis as well. Because if there is a strategy for Islamists, why there is not a strategy?
We ran that yesterday. We can rerun that on our screens. They mentioned it, the Khalistani angle as well. How this propaganda is being bred against both the Indian and the UK government. I request our guest to just stay with us. I think he's touched on a good point of a lot of this propaganda going from India too. I'm going to go to Ramneek Maan in just a bit on the Akali reaction in Punjab too, to what is happening on Amritpal, right? But I'll come to domestic politics in just a bit. I want to go across to my colleague Ritangshu one more time. Ritangshu has been keeping a watch on the developments outside the India House in London. Ritangshu, what did you learn of what this protest was supposed to be like? It was supposed to be bigger than what was mounted on Sunday, for example. It doesn't look very much bigger. Has it fizzled out? Are they not turning up yet, or are they not turning up because of the security presence?
Well, Shivani, I'm not sure as to whether I think it's a bit premature to say whether the protest is fizzled or not, because if I'm correct, it's supposed to start at around 1 p.m. local time, around 6:30 p.m. So the people have been coming in, protesters have been coming in so far. The crowd has been swelling in. It's a bit too early to say as to what the fate of this, or what the consequence of this protest will be. Yes, what you can see right now, I'll just flip the camera for you to get a better view. Yes, they are standing right opposite the Indian High Commission here, and I think these visuals speak for itself in terms of the Indian tricolour towering over these protesters. There is some sort of sloganeering that's happening sporadically. There are religious hymns being chanted at this point. As of now, no major sloganeering, no massive anti-India shouts and slogans are being heard. Religious sloganeering is happening. Those posters you can see, we are on the other side of the crowd, but those posters are there to show the Indian High Commission, which have Khalistan slogans at this point. But so far, this is what has happened. The crowd, if I can eyeball it, is about 150 to 200 people. And so far, they have just stood in protest. We need to see as to what happens from here on.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is the kind of protest, Ritangshu, that the UK government or the police is not going to bar, because obviously a peaceful protest is everybody's right. But what happened last weekend is not what is a peaceful protest. And fundamentally, what the agencies and the police need to ensure on ground, which I see a lot of presence of, is that one, they cannot come close to the building, they cannot threaten the Indian flag or any official of the Indian Commission, which is what transpired last weekend. And that is why there's so much attention on the UK response. There can be no vandalism or violence allowed.
Absolutely, Shivani. Now, there's no doubting the fact that the police presence at least has stepped up massively compared to what happened last Sunday. Now, this is a very busy street in London. There is generally no police presence at all outside the Indian High Commission. And that's not entirely abnormal, because on the other side, right next to the Indian High Commission is the Bush House, which is the campus of King's College London. And right on the other side, on a symmetrical part of Bush House, is the Australian High Commission as well. So this is a prominent area, but there's never any secured police presence here as such. This time, as you can see, there are multiple layers of police security. There's one on that side. They have completely cordoned off that street. There's one on this side as well. There's a lot on the other side of the building, on the rear side of the building, as we showed earlier, in which there are several battalions held in reserve here. In order to that, the High Commission itself has stepped up the security, because the flagpole has been secured with barbed wire. So in terms of how prepared both the High Commission and especially the local police is, there's no comparison with Sunday. Yes, as you said, Shivani, I've been speaking to some of the officers, and they said that they are not going to stop the protests, and they won't, and they can't also, because as long as it's a peaceful expression of views, they're not going to stop that from happening here. But if case things get ugly, in case we see anything close to what we saw last Sunday, they are prepared. There's enough force in terms of police personnel, in terms of equipment. to ensure that that doesn't happen. And so far, Shivani, if I can err on the side of being a bit premature, so far, I do not see any signs of violent mobilization. There is a mobilization of people here. There are a lot of people who are protesting, who have come up with flags, pro-Khalistan flags. The messaging could be seen as problematic. But so far, I have not seen any signs of a violent mobilization. The caveat being, obviously, that it's too early. The protest officially is supposed to start in about 5 minutes from now.
Yes, and Ridanshu, I'll come back to you. Just keep a watch on what's happening there. We'll come back, go back to London. Because officially the protest is supposed to start about 6:30 p.m. India time. I'm also joined by Mandeep Singh Bajwa, who's a strategic affairs analyst. Mandeep ji, do you believe we're getting news that there is much better presence of security, both right outside the India House in London, across the street? There's barricading on both sides. There are horse-mounted police officers and grounded police officers. Do you believe India has very successfully managed to send across that message that we are not going to tolerate this kind of lackadaisical attitude anymore, which allowed what happened on Sunday?
Well, it was a very shocking incident, when one of the Khalistani activists managed to clamber up and, remove the tricolour. And luckily, at that very moment, one of our own High Commission staffers came in and managed to retrieve the tricolour before any harm could come to it. And I think we were, of course, shocked. The British also probably felt the same way. And as you so rightly say, there is enhanced security presence. But, according to their laws and their way of functioning, they can't, take too stringent action as long as these people ostensibly remain peaceful.
Yes.
But it is a very, it's not a pleasant situation, and we have to, deal with it.
Yeah, but how do we deal with this? What is your opinion on the global K threat that is emerging? They're continuing to attack our missions in US, UK, Canada, Australia, and they're mounting a lot more of these protests, so-called referendums. How do we deal with this? Because, yes, in India, this propaganda doesn't work so much. But there are enough people in India, too, who want to fan these emotions.
Well, I think we must make use of our own diaspora. I mean, there are any number of organizations connected with political parties or with civil society groups and all who flock to various stadiums and other meeting places when our political leaders are there and all. Why aren't they out on the streets? Why aren't they opposing all this? So, I mean, there's a lot of grandstanding done, when our political leaders go abroad and attend meetings with the diaspora and whatever and all. But suddenly, somehow, very curiously, at times like this, you find the diaspora is missing.
No, but they did. The diaspora did come out yesterday, for example, to make their presence felt. But as somebody on my show was saying yesterday, they have lives to run. The Indian diaspora is considered hardworking, law-abiding, focused, contributing. I mean, you could excuse them if they're not disrupting their lives to attack on Khalistanis on the street. But I get your point. We have a very strong diaspora. We must utilize their strength. Ramnik Man, what do you make?
Don't be under any illusions that the diaspora is only doing this. During the farmer agitation, you found plenty of diaspora groups aligned with the right wing who came out to protest against the farmers. So let's not be under any illusions here. So
yes, that went on for about a year. That went on for about a year. This is obviously a situation that has arisen only Sunday. So I don't know whether we can compare the two.
I agree with that, and maybe we should be talking to our diaspora groups there to come out and sing. Otherwise, under British laws, there's not much which can be done.
No, of course, nobody cares if these protests happen. But as I think, Abhijit, I want to bring you in. We were talking about some of these Twitter handles, for example, yesterday. A lot of these people cannot achieve much on ground in India. But what their attempt is to show that we've given the Indians a bloody nose. What they managed to do on Sunday was basically that attempt, right? That we managed to snatch the Indian tricolour, we managed to break windows. It is thuggery at its best. It is just for show. But at least as far as that is concerned, we've put our foot down.
Absolutely. So see, this is a marketing stunt. But see, there's a whole economy around this. Remember, a lot of the diaspora who migrated to all these places migrated at the height of the Punjab insurgency, right? And they find out at that time when they migrated that they were at the lowest rungs of society. They created a sort of, because, criminality is fungible. They would very easily, poverty leads to criminality. They very easily got into a lot of criminal enterprises. Extortion became one other thing. So one of the questions you asked Ramneek Mann, I speak to so many Canadian Sikhs who fear for their lives if they come out and say what they actually want to say. Many of these people don't even want to be out on the streets. You remember, Shivani, I told you how I was affected by this personally in Melbourne by the LTTE at that time. At that time, the LTTE hadn't been crushed. But, I also lived in that environment of fear, so I know where a lot of these people are coming from. The problem, what happens in the Canada and the UK is the police turn a blind eye to all of this under the garb of, ethnic relations and racism and all of that. So they have nowhere to go to express their thing. And mind you, you can file a police complaint once, but the police isn't going to permanently allocate a cop to protect you. What happens then? They can't allocate a cop to permanently protect somebody. And these guys get away very easily in the court system. So what do you end up doing? There is a point here to be made, unfortunately, that the diaspora protest yesterday against these Khalistani protests was trivialized. What was the need to bring a Bollywood dancer? This is a very serious issue, It's not a Desi country mela or something like that. It's not Surajkund Arts and Crafts mela. And everything Indian does not have to have a Bollywood component here. I think we really do need to take it seriously. We gave the police, the London police, a way out where one of their jokers comes and dances with one of the protesters, and somehow this is meant to be, we've covered race relations. No, you have not covered race relations. This is not a place where you get off. And I'm glad that finally there is a barrier set up outside the High Commission now, finally, only after we took action. Also, Shivani, if you'll just give me 10 more seconds. This belief that Rishi Sunak is going to help us is absolutely wrong. He's a social climbing yuppie who is only catering to his audience in the UK. Right? Remember, during the Leicester riots against Hindus, which we now know, despite all the misinformation that was spread, where the Hindus were victimized even though they were blamed, he did not open his mouth. Even on this incident, he has not opened his mouth. In fact, him being a practicing Hindu actually places a constraint on him in being able to do things.
Yes, proactively.
Right?
Yes.
On the other hand, he talks about grooming gangs. Why? Because grooming gangs is a right-wing talking point in London. So he will talk about that. But he will never talk about Hindus, period. In fact, I would say Boris Johnson and some white prime minister is probably much more likely to help out Hindus in this case than Rishi Sunak is.
Yeah, and you would remember yesterday on the show, I did ask one of my guests if this is particularly being done to put Rishi Sunak in a tight situation. Because as an Indian origin, practicing Hindu prime minister, they could possibly mount pressure on him that, see, you only react to such issues because your heart lies somewhere else. So I know he has a tricky tightrope to walk. But quickly, Ramneek Mann, what do you make of the entire Amritpal fiasco that's playing out in Punjab? And the fact that our own politicians, the Akalis, for example, have come out in a way, circumventing certain things, but in a way almost standing with the people who've been cracked down upon. They're saying that the youth is being victimized, we'll fund their cases, fine, all perfectly legal. But in India, an Indian politician, an Indian political party is not standing with the police, state police and the government, and the central government is making some victimization story in Punjab.
No, but Shivani, what options do the Akali Dal have? The Badals don't have an option. See, they've lost the confidence of the hardcore Panthik voter, that is the religious-based voter in Punjab. And that's evident from the 2022 election results.
So you do this?
Nobody with a Badal surname is in the Punjab Vidhan Sabha. They've lost their core vote base. They're just trying to get it back. And they are using SGPC and Sri Akal Takht Sahib to do that. It's as simple as that. I mean, there is no question about it.
No, but in today's day and age, we cannot allow such cheap politics just for votes. I mean, this is exactly what has made India suffer so much. What has made Punjab suffer so much?
Politics in Punjab has been cheap and shallow for a very long time. And what do you expect of Badals, by the way? I mean, they've looted Punjab to a level which would put Abdali to shame. This is what Balos have done to Punjab. Now they want to come back to power, and they're not finding a way. It will be 10 years since they'll be away from power.
But
so they have to do something to gain the confidence of the Panthik vote base. And by the way, everything that you see is a PR exercise to extract a reaction from India, to extract a reaction from the states. Including this Khalistan that you see on your screen, they are only trying to extract a reaction from you. And the government of India and India as a country, as a state, as a mature democracy, should act and not react.
Yeah.
What India did in Delhi by removing the security is an action. It's not a reaction. And it should continue to do such actions over a period of time and let the British and let the, Gora and the white man, let it sink into them that the brown Indians have woken up and they will react and they will act in a manner which is mature. And this is going to hurt you eventually.
Okay.
So they need to stop this. They need to stop this. They need to make sure that, Britain does not become, or England or London does not become the next Paris, the next Kabul, the next Herat, or next Kandahar. They are at the path of being there now.
Okay, I kind of agree. I agree with this whole white man. No, Ramnik man, I agree with this whole white man syndrome that yes, of course, traditionally they've looked down upon, other countries, non-whites. We can say that. There's a history to that. But I think fundamentally what is also the point is that, they see this as, two Indians fighting basically. It ultimately embarrasses us. It embarrasses our community overseas. The policeman in London is not going to understand this whole Khalistani, this and that. For them, both of them are nuisance.
No, Shivani, first things first. Like I said, they wish to extract a reaction from us. What happened yesterday was, it should not have happened. Don't react. They will keep protesting outside the embassy. They will keep trying to pull the flag down. And the next thing is you'll have somebody coming out in reaction. And second is, it's not an Indian fighting an Indian. It is Khalistanis versus the Indians. Let's understand. They're not Indians. They don't consider themselves as Indians. They are British citizens. They are Britishers. They have British passports and they are masquerading as Khalistanis. They are masquerading as Indians. They are Britishers and they need to be dealt according to the British law.
Okay, I get it.
Let's not see this Indian versus Indian.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying you look at it from a London police officer's point of view. What is he going to say? What is he going to think? What is she going to think?
So
He's going to,
they don't understand,
he or she is going to think, oh, these two people are fighting. I don't understand what their dispute is. And what happened? Ramnik, listen to my point. My point is, ultimately what happens is, and Prabhu Dayal can come in on this, all of this whole Khalistani agenda, etc., what it ends up doing is, it ends up bringing disrepute to the entire Indian diaspora, the peaceful ones as well. It ends up, getting a label of nuisance on top of them. Because people in London don't care for this. They don't care for this. They don't understand this. They don't understand the history or anything of this. For them, these are, Indian origin people fighting amongst themselves. It's a nuisance value. We must understand that. It makes us look bad. It makes us, our diaspora look bad. Yes, Prabhu Dayal.
Rishi is of Indian origin. Rishi is also of Indian origin.
Yeah, so we need to behave the way Indians do behave, right? This pulls us down. That's all I'm saying. It brings our repute down.
But he's a British citizen. But he's a British citizen. Prabhu Dayal, please.
Okay, Prabhu Dayal. Very quickly, I have to take final comments. Yes. Prabhu Dayal, can you hear me? Not sure if he's getting my audio, but let me just take that to Gaurav. Gaurav, would you agree?
Yeah,
are you getting what I'm saying? I'm saying that, ultimately a lot of this happens, this mess happens, Leicester happens, this happens, especially this Khalistani propaganda happens. It just puts a question on the entire Indian diaspora and embarrasses us. This is not what Indians in UK want.
No, I think you're right to some extent, Shivani. I think the optics matters, and that's how it is projected. You're absolutely spot on, because a lot of white friends who I speak to on a daily basis, they say this is two Indians fighting, and you're absolutely spot on that. But I think to some extent, I agree with Ramnik Bhai's point as well, that that actually they want a reaction from you, isn't it? What we did yesterday outside, and to Bajwa sir's point, actually, when he was saying that diaspora didn't do anything, we did do that yesterday. I know to Abhijit's point, it was a dance and everything. All other things were all accompanied in that sort of reaction from us. But it was mainly to show the support to the High Commission to say that even if you are attacked, we are with you, isn't it? That was the whole message we were trying to send. But optics wise, yes, it does matter because, as I said as well earlier, the SGPC and the Gurudwaras who are actually facilitating bringing people in a coach. There's been a lot of tweets now which are on the Twitter. You can see that the people are sitting in a coach and being bought actually to this protest right now. Those things have to be stopped, isn't it? And that can be controlled from India. Is something which can be done from India. It'll definitely help a lot.
Okay.
I absolutely agree with Ramnik Bhai's point that these are brainwashed people. They will not listen to the Indian side for sure. That's out of question. I think what you have to do is you have to control their funding. You have to make sure that their funding mechanism is broken across the world, not only in United Kingdom, but this is across the world. And you can see, like, if, like, for example, a Tanman Desi tweets, Jagmeet Singh retweets it. Then he gets another couple of MPs in USA to tweet it. So basically, there's a cabal which actually works in tandem, isn't it? You have to break this cabal to be able to get this down on knees.
Yes, and obviously we need foreign government support as far as the funding aspect is concerned, because they nicely sit pretty outside India and do all of this. Some of those Twitter accounts spreading paranoia, fear and propaganda have been blocked in India. So that's one of the things we discussed yesterday. I want to quickly go across to my colleague Ritanshu, who's been continuously getting us these live images. Ritanshu, give us your sense of how the build-up is taking place there. One of our guests in the UK is talking about how people are being brought via coaches, via buses to this protest spot.
Well, Shivani, couple of things. I don't know whether you can hear the audio, but the protest has begun at 1 p.m. local time, 6:30 IST. There's still people coming in from this side. Let me try and see where they're coming from. Can't really come up with a source, but yes, there are still people coming in. The crowd is swelling, number one. The second thing, Shivani, I could hear some of the guests speaking. There's definitely an element of playing to the galleries here in 2 or 3 forms. One is, of course, the signages are in English, as one of the guests was mentioning, not in Gurmukhi. In the flags itself, you can see these visuals. Apart from the yellow Khalistani flag, there are some Punjab referendum flags which have come in as well. And they're all in English playing to the galleries. The other thing is, this has obviously gotten the attention of a lot of locals and a lot of other international residents of other countries as well. And people here are actually reaching out, actually trying to converse with them and tell them their ideological point of view in order to spread the message here. So there is an element of playing to the galleries happening. The third, 2 more points, Shivani, which I'd like to mention here. One is the protest is also seeing a lot of women, obviously, but a lot of minors as well. There are actually kids and prams being with placards and sloganeering charts being put in their hands and photos being taken. So even minors are being incorporated into this protest. The other thing which I wanted to point out is there are quite a few people I'm seeing with their hoods on, wearing a sweatshirt with the hoods on and their faces covered here. So it still could get a bit tense, but right now it's more or less peaceful. The sloganeering is happening. The chants being raised for Khalistan, for Amritpal against the Prime Minister. But so far, it seems it's a scene of uneasy terms. Shivani, back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ritanshu, for joining us. Everybody's been restricted to the other side of the road, not close to the India House like it got last time. And of course, there's barricading even on the other side of the footpath. So far, peaceful, but people are collecting and crowds are gathering. I want to go across to take a final comment from Mandeep Singh Bajwa also. Overall, this Khalistani threat. Now, you may say these are brainwashed individuals, you know, they don't have their allegiances to India, whatever may be the case, why they are backing Khalistan. Do you believe we have a problem on our hands, especially overseas? And how do we get people back to the Indian fold, if I may say that? How do we break this nexus and this propaganda?
Well, we certainly have a problem on our hands because these people will continue with their activities and propaganda against the Indian state. And the way to tackle them is through political action. And also, we must get our own act together. I mean, let me tell you that, you know, the lot of bitterness was generated by the response of the Indian state to the farmers' agitation and the political propaganda and the hate mongering against farmers that is left, I mean, within the country and outside. So a lot of the problem which we are facing now outside are because of what happened during that 1 year of farmers' agitation. Secondly, you know, the calls for a majoritarian state within India are also creating their own problems. We can't. How do we? I mean, people like us, we've been opposing Khalistan ever since the demand started in, say, in 81. But we find that we can't argue with people when they say that. What about the calls for Hindu Rashtra? Why the people? Why is the state clamping down on them? What do you say? So we must get our own act together. We just can't bash on at these people. Of course, they're wrong, and in certain cases, they've indulged in violence. I mean, who can forget the Kanishka tragedy and other things? There have been attacks. People have been killed. People have been injured, and the bomb blasts have taken place in whatever. But we must get our own act together, and then abroad we go to indulge in political action. Our own diaspora must take the lead. I mean, if they're very happy to come here and lord it over us, then they must also do something for us. I mean, I found that in 2019, when the Pulwama attack took place, and subsequent to that, we retaliated by bombing Balakot and all. The diaspora did nothing. Not in the United States, not in Canada, not in UK. So let's get them to also put rather than indulging in propaganda all the time, do something, some political action. So,
okay. I think I get your point, but yes, all of these things can go together. We need to get our act together. Yes, there are certain things we need to do that. And of course, we need to utilize our diaspora strength as well. There are other reasons why they may not step out so quickly as our other guests have enumerated. I was wanting to go to Prabhadayal. He's been waiting for quite some time, but I think we've lost that link. So I will thank all of our guests for joining us for this discussion. And of course, we'll continue to look out for how the Indian state responds, how the other governments respond to this growing K agenda that is looking to grab headlines across the world. I have to slip into a very short break. On the other side, Kumar Mangalam Birla, the chairman of Aditya Birla Group, conferred with Padma Bhushan for his contribution to field of trade and industry. We'll get you more in just a bit.
Not as much as it was being shown in and around him, because remember, he was traveling in a luxurious Mercedes car, and that Mercedes car was in fact given to him by a drug lord named Renda. So all these links are being probed. Also, the Punjab police has another link between Amritpal and pro-Khalistani based terrorist. Pro-Khalistan based terrorist as well. So yes, all these links are being taken out now, and a stronger case is being built, because remember yesterday the hearing that happened in Punjab and Haryana High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court actually came out very strongly on the Punjab government and said that even after you have such a massive force with you, even if you have such intelligence assets at your disposal, how did Amritpal Singh actually manage to escape? And hence they have given a 4-day time to the Punjab government to file their reply in this entire matter. So yes, it remains to be seen how does the Punjab government now respond to this, because yes, the High Court is seeing this entire operation as a failure, because even after so many police officials were deployed on the ground, Amritpal Singh still has managed to escape. So yes, the next few days are going to be very, very crucial for the Punjab police to make sure that they go ahead and arrest Amritpal Singh and slap NSA against him. So yes, the next few days are going to be very, very interesting and crucial for Punjab police. But yes, on the other hand, the situation in Punjab is absolutely normal at this point in time. However, the belt in which Amritpal Singh was operating, the belt of Amritsar, Taran, etc., the internet services have still been snapped over there, whereas in all other districts the internet services have been restored. People are going out and people are working very normally. So yes, the situation is normal, but yes, the manhunt for Amritpal Singh is still on.
Absolutely. Anshul, thank you so much for joining us and for bringing us those details. Now we're going to listen to some other statements that have come in on the story.
जो भी काम किया जाएगा, किसी नू किसी तरह की इलीगल अरेस्ट च ना रखा गया ना रखा जाएगा। जदों भी जिहड़ा प्राइम अक्यूज्ड आ जदों भी फड़िया जाएगा, तुरंत उहदे बारे दे विच जानकारी दित्ती जाएगी इहदे विच कि जिहड़ी ब्रेजा कार दे विच अमृतपाल सिंह उत्थों दौड़िया सीगा मौके तो ਉਹ ਬਰੈਜ਼ਾ ਕਾਰ ਰਿਕਵਰ ਹੋਈ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ 4 ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਭੱਜਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਡੀ ਮਿਲੀ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਵੀ 315 ਬੋਰ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਰਾਈਫਲ ਮਿਲੀ ਆ, ਕੁਝ ਤਲਵਾਰਾਂ ਮਿਲੀਆਂ ਵਾ, ਵਾਕੀ ਟਾਕੀ ਸੈੱਟ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਵਾ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਰਮਡ ਐਕਟ ਦਾ ਕੇਸ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਸਟਡੀ ਚੋਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਗਿਰਫਤ ਤੋਂ ਭਜਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਐਡ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ FIR ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਹਿਮ ਗੱਲ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਈ ਆ ਕਿ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੌੜਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਨੰਗਲ ਅੰਬੀਆਂ ਪਿੰਡ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਿਆ। ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੱਪੜੇ ਚੇਂਜ ਕੀਤੇ, ਉਹਨੇ शर्ट पाई, पैंट पाई, फिर उत्थों दौड़िया, अपनी जी तलवार से उत्थे छड़ दी।
5 से 6 केस दर्ज है भाई अमृतपाल सिंह के ऊपर और वो इंडियन पीनल कोड के केसेस हैं और कोई ऑफेंस नहीं लगाया। तो मानयोग अदालत ने इस पर कहा भी जो ये स्टोरी है, ये कहानी है स्टेट की, इस पर मानयोग अदालत को जो भरोसा नहीं है और 1 हफ्ते के अंदर अंदर भाई अमृतपाल सिंह को प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए जो ऑर्डर किया सरकार को जी, जो उन्होंने मानयोग जज साहब ने भी बोला है भी जो इतना बड़ा ऑपरेशन था, इतने ज़्यादा पुलिस वाले उसमें इन्वॉल्व थे, ये पॉसिबल नहीं हो सकता भी भाई अमृतपाल सिंह के जो बाकी साथी सारे हैं, एडवोकेट जनरल साहब ने भी कहा भी बाकी जो साथी सारे हैं वो गिरफ्तार हो जाएं और भाई अमृतपाल सिंह ना हो। जज साहब ने कहा ये पॉसिबल नहीं हो सकता और इस पे एक और बड़ी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी चीज़ है, एडवोकेट जनरल साहब ने ये भी कहा भी इसमें कोई भी फायरिंग नहीं की गई, सभी को बिना किसी फायरिंग किए गए उन्होंने पकड़ लिया गया है।
Now, tracking the developments of the Khalistani supporters in India, that's what we're going to be doing right now. As the manhunt to nab pro-Khalistani leader Amritpal Singh enters its 5th day, new videos continue to emerge of him trying to evade the police. Now, in a new CCTV footage that has been accessed, Amritpal can be seen ditching the Brezza car and then escaping on a bike. Now, remember, first he used a Mercedes and then switched cars and used a Brezza. Now, in this, what we're learning is that the Brezza car was ditched and then he escaped later on a bike. Now, according to the police, Amritpal also changed his clothes at a Gurdwara before escaping on a bike. Meanwhile, politics has also erupted after the Punjab government's crackdown against Amritpal and his aides. Shiromani Akali Dal President Sukhbir Badal has said that they will provide legal assistance to all Sikh youths who are being arrested by the police. He further added that the Akali Dal will ensure that constitutional rights are not trampled upon by the AAP government. All right, this is an exclusive breaking input that we're getting. When Amritpal came back to India, the Punjab border saw the highest ever drone movements at the borders, and this is what data is showing. This is what data is telling us. Agencies also found linkages of Amritpal with cross-border drug dealers who are based in Pakistan, and we're learning about certain names here. This is Billa, Bilal and Rana. Now, to get us more details on this, we're being joined by News 18's Ankur Sharma. Ankur, over to you.
Yeah, Aisha, so it's central agencies are suspecting that since time Amritpal arrived in Punjab last year in August, so there has been a massive increase in drone movements last year. In fact, they have recorded the highest number of drone movements from Pakistan side, sending arms, ammunition, drugs through drones to India. And according to the data, last year 256 drone movements have been noticed by BSF, which is approximately 4 times high than 2021, which in 2021 it was 67 drone movements which was noticed by BSF. Data also shows that Jammu border also saw a rise, almost a double rise.
Kumar Mangalam Birla, chairman of Aditya Birla Group, was conferred Padma Bhushan, India's 3rd highest civilian award, for his contribution to the field of trade and industry. He is the 4th recipient of the Padma Award in the Birla family. And finally, we leave you with a report on the Chinese President Xi Jinping meeting Russia's President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Tuesday, remember? But what was really achieved from this meet? Take a look.
Russia's Vladimir Putin rolling out the red carpet for his, quote, dear friend, Chinese leader Xi Jinping, greeting each other for their second day of meetings in Moscow. Despite skepticism from the West that the visit is more about supporting Russia and furthering Beijing's own self-interests, Putin and Xi signing an economic deal, deepening their partnership, and calling for an end to actions that increase tensions in the prolonged war in Ukraine.
Of course, we did not ignore the situation around Ukraine. We believe that many of the points on the peace plan put forward by China are consistent with Russian approaches and can be taken as the basis of a peaceful settlement when the West and Kyiv are ready for it. But this readiness is not observed on their side.
Since the war began, Russia has become far more dependent on China. China has been propping up Russia's economy amid Western sanctions by purchasing its energy, replacing Western suppliers in electronics, cars, and aircraft, and providing an alternative to the US dollar. In Russia, there's some cynicism about Beijing's motives. On a Russian state TV talk show, this military pundit said, China can have only one ally, China itself. China can only have one set of interests, pro-Chinese ones. Chinese foreign policy is utterly devoid of altruism. But Chinese state media is in overdrive, touting the benefits of the Russia-China relationship. And it's all positive comments on China's heavily censored social media. This one says, cooperation and win-win. The next one says, long live China-Russia friendship. Disagreements, if any, are censored. By meeting with Putin, Xi wants to highlight his role as a global statesman that can offer an alternative to the current world order.
Good evening, hello and welcome to News Epicenter. I'm Anusha Soni. The Indian High Commission building and the tricolour was vandalised on the 19th of March in London. Another round of so-called protest has already been organised and it's underway by separatist elements in London in UK. New Delhi here has taken a stand, and in a show of rare optics, barricades have been removed from outside the British High Commission office in the national capital. In the state of Punjab, the manhunt launched by the state police to nab Amritpal Singh, that's on. Multiple state police agencies are working round the clock to nab this man who's responsible for waging a war against national security and threatening the rule of law in the state. Our focus is on the protests which are happening in London, what happens there, and all eyes on whether this time London police is able to do its job, which is to keep the Indian High Commission secure. Our top focus.